Welcome to the Brewing Wellness podcast, nourishing UFT members, one conversation at a time. Brewing Wellness is a podcast created by the UFT Member Assistance Program to support the mental health and well-being of our members. In order to do the work you do every day and be present for your loved ones, students, and patients, your cup has to be full. Brewing Wellness focuses on mental health and wellness topics that can help us all thrive in our professional and personal lives. We'll be releasing a new episode on the last Monday of each month. Remember to listen to the Brewing Wellness podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And please, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's get started.
Hello and welcome back to the Brewing Wellness podcast. My name is Dr. Raul Garcia, and I am the social worker and psychologist functional chapter leader here at the UFT. I am so happy to be joined by wellness expert Francine Steadman. She is the CEO of BuddhaBooth, a longtime friend of the UFT, and today we're discussing gratitude, creating gratitude practice, avoiding toxic gratitude, and much more. Francine, just gotta let you know, I really appreciate your BuddhaBooth. I know we had it at one of our events, and I will let you know that it was one of the most talked about private spaces, mental spaces that our members were able to enjoy. So thank you so much. Francine, would you love to introduce yourself?
First of all, I'm so glad. The entire reason I do what I do is to create that experience for people. There was a time when I desperately needed a quiet, safe space and didn't have one. So I created them to bring them to the world. So as mentioned, yes, I am Francine Steadman, and I'm the founder of BuddhaBooth. And my entire mission in life is to create quiet, safe spaces for people to just be, to catch their breath, to have a moment, to have an experience that gets them out of any sort of stressful environment where their senses are under attack, where they can just alleviate their senses and have a moment.
So I just gotta let you know, I've traveled to a lot of schools and I traveled to different sites, right? And I've seen it actually in a lot of DOE schools. And every time I see it, it provides that space, not just for the students, but it provides that whole space for staff, and we all need that. So just gonna let you know that people are appreciating of the Buddha booths. Every time I see one, it puts a smile on my face because I know exactly how it feels to be in that booth, getting that piece of quiet and calmness to yourself.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, there's not a day that I don't want to keep doing more, and working with the schools and providing wellness for staff and students alike is just really what keeps me going every day.
It's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
So, background, born and raised in LA, sort of got to New York by way of Cleveland, another long story. And, over the years, I've raised my children. I've got 3 kids and a new grandson, which is super exciting. And getting to a place in life where things were very, very, very challenging and very hard, and going through tough times brought me to a place where I sort of had to decide meditate or medicate, and had to navigate the feelings and experience of just like grief and sorrow and a lot of emotions that come along with tragic events. And I was brought to a little place by a friend and taken to a meditation circle, and I'm like, whatever. And then shortly thereafter, I discovered guided meditations. Before they had the apps, it was sort of podcasts. And I found some that were really impactful, and they really helped me get through some really tough times. And instead of finding a substance of sorts to help me sleep, literally listening to a guided meditation would get me there. And it got to a point where I felt very familiar, just hearing a little bit of the music would allow me to sleep. And I realized how healing it was, and I started doing healing art programs. I'm an artist, and I love sharing the pathway of creating something beautiful on the outside to reflect inner beauty. For many of the people I work with, it's sort of the inner beauty before the darkness set in, and to allow them to bring some of that light out. And my pathway to helping people heal, I'm a Reiki healer as well, and doing all of the things that I was doing actually brought me to creating BuddhaBooth. I was working 4 jobs with my 3 kids to make ends meet, and I really desperately needed a quiet space to just go be for a few minutes, and there was no such thing. So I brought it to the world. And I feel like it's something that is really needed and necessary in so many environments. My heart and soul really goes to people who help people. So if I can help the leaders who are having a direct impact on the youth and sort of the next generation of leaders, having, teachers and social workers and nurses and, doctors, and they have direct access to these kids in their formative years. So if I can help them feel well and it trickles down, or if I can directly help these children, then, that's all I want to be doing.
That's amazing, because of what I will tell you. So I represent a lot of the social workers and the psychologists. Obviously, that's my main role. And one of the biggest things that I find is that it's really hard. Well, we have like a Superman image. Like, we feel like we could do it all. And I think that a lot of times we have a lot of stress and we feel that we're not allowed to feel stress, right? And that's your professional career. But like you said, you're a mother, you're a grandmother, right? When I had my own kids, I have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. During the pandemic, it was one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
Because I had to keep myself stable. I had to keep myself mentally focused, keep myself strong. I was not able to go ahead and have a moment to just like breathe and be myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the biggest things is, my brother's also in the mental health field, and one of the things he really showed me is like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that sometimes.
They absolutely do. And I think if we're teaching our children that it's okay to not be okay and giving them space for that, whether it's a physical space or metaphorically speaking, to hold space for that, then I think it's going to have a really great impact. And as more parents learn about how to give their children space to feel, not try and fix everything, but just allow them to cry, allow them to emote, allow them to be sad, I think it goes for our peers as well. Our friends and family, it's like, oh, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. Well, how about acknowledging it's okay to worry about it? Let me feel that worry, let me feel that sadness, and I'll get through it. I just need support.
Correct. And I think that that's the one thing, like, even with my group, the mental health professionals, right? But I'm also thinking of different titles. Sometimes we help out so many others, but we never help out ourselves.
100%.
And I think that's the other part, is like, we really have to really start thinking about, we can empty out our own gasoline, right? Or we're gonna run out of fuel. And I think many times we are running on fumes. Whenever someone reaches out to me, many times it's a stressed out call.
And you can't say no, because it's who you are. You're the person who helps people.
Correct. And sometimes I tell people, I'm like, I absorb everything you share with me, but I realize that even for myself, I also have to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot for any one person to take everyone else's stress and really put it onto them to try to make a difference. That being said, I'm just thinking about everyone who's in the school system, anyone who's in public service. Yeah. It's very draining, right? One of the biggest topics, and the topics is just even gratitude. Like, I'll tell you my own personal experience. My own personal experience is I get a lot of people saying, thank you for everything you do. Mm-hmm. To me, it becomes something like second nature. Like, I'm doing my job, right? And that's the way I look at it. That's what I signed up for. I'm here to support and help others, right? But then I will tell you, very recently, I walked in and there was a young man there, and he asked me my name. And he's like, are you Raul Garcia? And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm like, why? Is there something wrong? He's like, no. He's like, I just want to thank you. And I'm like, how do I know you? Mm-hmm. And he basically said, well, you evaluated me years ago at my school. And it really stuck me. I'm like, whoa, like, you remember me. Like, I had one interaction with you probably for 50 minutes, right? Yeah. And now he's like, I just finished college. He's like, I'm going into grad school. And I really remember the great impact you made, right?
Oh, it gives me goosebumps.
It gave me goosebumps because I came in thinking like, wow, I hear thank yous all the time. And sometimes it's hard for us to recognize that they're really, like, for us, we may hear thank you so many times, but for that one person, that thank you really means the world to them. And it made me realize it's important to give gratitude to people, but also receive it and realize that, you know what, we're making a difference even if it doesn't feel that way. But at the same time, when someone else makes a difference, it may make a huge, that completely changed my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like, this is years ago. I haven't been in the school system probably close to 6 years. This young man at this point is in his early 20s. And I'm like, it's important for us to just share the gratitude in the world. And it changes the way that it changed, honestly, the way that I look at stuff. because I haven't interacted with students in over 6 years, but I'm still able, from 50 minutes of me working with a student, for them to remember me, and maybe my hair. It's very unique. It hasn't changed, right?
Hair's good.
But I think that's important. So I really want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about, like, what is a gratitude practice? Like, what are some ways that we could go ahead and really receive and share gratitude? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think first and foremost is to really understand that gratitude is a feeling a little bit more than thank you. So thank you, someone appreciative. Oftentimes it's transactional. Somebody opens the door for you. Oh, thank you. Or somebody does something nice. Oh, thank you. Or, there's often something associated with it. Gratitude is exactly what that student had for you. Basically, a heartfelt feeling of thankfulness, which is the gratitude. He clearly felt that you made such a difference in his life that not only did he feel that gratitude, but he felt the need to express the gratitude. And I think that's where we need to really look around us and see where it feels good to express gratitude, and, like you're on the receiving end, how it feels to receive gratitude. Because if we're just like, oh, thanks, it doesn't really feel like much. But if somebody says something very specific about a particular experience or something you said or something you did in a particular place, the more specific you are, the more meaningful it is. So for this young man to tell you, what he told you, and for you to receive it in that way, all of a sudden it shifted how you felt and how you looked at things. And I imagine for that one person who actually expressed his gratitude, there's probably 100 more who didn't, or hundreds maybe. Because a lot of times people have it in their mind, oh, I remember my favorite teacher, or this counselor really helped me, and if it wasn't for what they said, I wouldn't have been able to take this path, or I would not have made this decision, and I wish I could thank them or express my gratitude. But sometimes they don't have the bandwidth. Sometimes they don't know where to find you. And sometimes they just think, oh, they probably don't remember me anyway. So I think when you come up with gratitude, whether you're feeling a sense of gratitude towards somebody, it's really, really important to actually share it. So whether it's verbally or written, writing a gratitude note to somebody is really, really impactful. It's good for your mental health, it's good for your body, and it's just equally as amazing for the person on the receiving end.
And I will tell you that's another story. So over the summer, I don't work during the summer, so I got to enjoy time with my family. I decompressed. I'm able to go ahead and just recenter myself. But when I came back, the one thing I found was I had a handwritten letter from one of our members just thanking me. And I'm like, in a world in which everything is so quick, you could simply write an email and say thank you.
Or text. Yeah.
Yeah, and it made a difference when you write someone took the time to physically write something
and put a stamp on it.
And send it out. And I think those are the things in which sometimes we don't realize something so small can make such a huge difference for someone else.
Yeah.
Many times, every job is stressful. Everything we do is very stressful, and we have to do whatever we have to do, and then at the same time take care of our own needs. And I think that it's important for us to realize that maybe when you feel it, express some kind of gratitude, doing some kind of way to just let that positive energy out there. And I also believe that this year I started a whole different mentality personally, in which I go back to spreading love, and whatever love you put out there in the world is the love you're going to receive. Yeah. And it's the main thing that I started the school year with, because year after year I keep looking for something positive or something that's going to change or it's going to get easier, and it never really does. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, I am grateful. At the end of the day, I go to sleep. Before I go to sleep, I just count everything that I got, all my blessings, right? And wonderful. Then I just hope I don't lose it for the next things. What are some other ideas that we could go ahead and give our members? Because many of our members, we take care of others, and sometimes we just don't take care of ourselves.
So I think you hit on a couple of things, and we'll circle back to sort of gratitude practice, which it sounds like you're doing already. But I think gratitude should probably, it needs to be self-reflected as well. And I think it's important to put the mirror up and be grateful for who you are and what you do and the impact that you have on people. You're in a profession that is very challenging, and you're no doubt encountering problem after problem after problem. That's what you do, problem solve. You help people get through those things. So to acknowledge the role you play is important. And I think a lot of people who are in helping professions be like, oh, whatever, it's just my job, or it's just what I do, or it's just no big deal. It is a big deal. It's a big deal because you have an impact. And acknowledging your impact, I think, is really important. So self-gratitude is something that we feel like, oh, we might just be, I don't even know the right word, for that, but just to be like self-absorbed or self-centered. No, it's appreciating your gift of helping people and being grateful for the experience that you have of being that helper. So starting within is really important. And when people are uncomfortable expressing gratitude, again, there's like, oh, thank you for this. Sometimes people are really uncomfortable expressing gratitude because they become vulnerable. So they can start simple. They can start with gravity. I am so grateful that my feet are on this ground every day. Hot water. I am so grateful that I have this warm, hot water to wash with, to bathe with, whatever it is. Little things that we forget about that not everybody has. Well, everyone has gravity, unfortunately. But, you can look at things small first that maybe aren't as personal, that won't make you feel so vulnerable. And then you can start thinking about things in a deeper way. So one of the things we do some professional development courses, self-care, mindfulness, and things like that. And one of my favorite things to do with groups is to create a gratitude journal. And it seems kind of silly to some people who have no idea what a gratitude practice is, but it starts so simple. It's just write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And finding the difference between thankful and grateful is a practice. And you'll start to feel a little bit more grateful about things because you're going to notice things in your life that might not be a certain way without a certain person. And such as this young man's journey that he shared with you. And you'll start to see, wow, if it weren't for this or that, like I wouldn't have this experience. I'm so grateful for my interaction with this person at this particular place because it led me here. And now I feel like this is a really amazing place for me to be. Or, I encountered somebody who was in distress and I was able to help guide them to a solution and look at that. So there's things, it's kind of, there's sort of a hierarchy, like you just start with the basics and the things that aren't so deep. And then the deeper you go, the more beautiful it is.
And I think that's very important to also say because at the end of the day, like, I don't know, I'm a positive person, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things that keeps me going. But a lot of our members, or a lot of individuals, forget members at this point, human beings, right? We go through a lot.
Yeah.
Living in New York City is not easy.
Oh, no, it's so hard.
Living in New York City is so hard. When the train is late, right? And we're so focused on, put myself in the train situation.
Logistics.
The train is late. I'm going to be late to a meeting. I'm going to be late to doing something, right? And I think that, it's easy to just go into a complete darkness sometimes based on certain things.
Yeah.
But it's if we start practicing something in which we're able to say, hey, we could go ahead and stay focused on the positive. At least I'm on the train. I'll get there eventually,
right.
Right?
Right.
And I think that's the main thing that we want to stay focused on is just making sure that we all stay positive. We're grateful for what we have. It doesn't mean that it's perfect.
No.
But it still means I'm still kicking.
And
I still have an opportunity.
It's acknowledging, and again, just it's awareness, of what's moving in what direction, and what feels right, and again, expressing your gratitude for certain things. And I know when you did your intro, you mentioned toxic gratitude, and it's something that I've recently learned about. And of course, we've probably all been doing it our whole lives, or our mothers have, or something like that. It's like you should feel grateful because I did this for you, or you should do that. You should be so grateful that you emptied the dishwasher because I drove you to soccer, or you should be grateful because I included you in this event, or whatever it is. But putting on somebody that they should feel grateful, it's like telling somebody how they should feel is not really very good. The other thing too is just sort of being overly, again, we'll pull gratitude out a little bit and put thankful. people who overthink. And it's sort of the message of, I'm not sure I'm good enough for what you did, or I'm having trouble letting you be gracious enough to have done what you did. And being overthanked or feeling overthankful, again, becomes a little bit transactional, and it kind of takes away a little bit of the joy from the person who did the giving or the doing. And the receiver is in a position of like feeling maybe unworthy or not quite deserving of whatever it is that other person did. So it stirs up stuff on both sides. So again, overthinking versus, expressing true gratitude, shaming people into feeling grateful is never good. And again, it shouldn't be something that's transactional. It could be something, just an independent feeling that you share with yourself, with the people who you're grateful to.
It's very important to know, and I think that at the end of the day, I think that it's very hard for us to sometimes see how too much of something could be good or bad, and find the other balance. So I think it's very important. I appreciate this, and I think that our members would definitely, and anyone listening will be very appreciative of this, because it brings to light a lot of the stuff in which sometimes, I won't say we take it for granted, but sometimes we don't focus so much on. Do you have any other last words as far as it goes? Any other things that you could share with us on how to go ahead and be grateful and feel comfortable receiving that gratitude sometimes, and not just in the work environment, but even in the human world, I guess you could say,
everywhere,
especially where we have a unique moment in time in which we've been through a lot these last few years. And, it seems like, I don't know, I wasn't around in the last century, in the early of last century, right? But it seems like things are always getting so tough. So, like, what are some last thoughts that we could have with regards to how gratitude could change, I guess, the way we all think and we are as a society, I guess?
I think it all comes down to slowing down a little, because we're in a world that's moving so fast. The media is delivering information at a speed in which we are not meant to process. I mean, just so fast, that if we can just slow down enough to experience some gratitude, and whether we're giving or receiving or just acknowledging, just noticing the beautiful things in the world around us, whether it's the barista at your coffee shop or the guy pulling up your car or somebody holding the subway door for you. And again, it's not always just transactional. Like, you could feel this deep feeling of gratitude because of how it will affect the next hour of your life, the next year, 10 years, whatever it is. So I would say just keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open for those beautiful moments and those little miracles that are all around you, that we get so busy that we forget to acknowledge.
So I know I kind of experienced BuddhaBooth, and a lot of our members have also. But if others wanted to know more about BuddhaBooth, and how would they get in contact with you or learn more about BuddhaBooth?
So you can find us online, and it's BuddhaBooth.com. And I'm going to spell it because sometimes it gets reversed. It's BuddhaBooth.com. And our Instagram is at BuddhaBooths with an S. So BuddhaBooths. And that's where you'll find sort of a more visual idea of what we're doing and how we're impacting people.
So I want to share some gratitude. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for going ahead and taking the time to speak about this such important topic, and really taking the time. I know as individuals, we sometimes don't take the time to think about certain things. We're always living in the moment. Yeah. So thank you, because I got a moment to really focus on how to be grateful myself and, learn a little bit more about my way of thinking sometimes. So thank you so much for joining.
And likewise, I really very much appreciate being here, and have a deep felt gratitude for you and your team here at UFT. You guys are awesome. You do such amazing work. And without you, I don't think our kids would have half a chance.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for BuddhaBooth. I can't wait to go ahead and take some time for myself to sit in one.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Brewing Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the UFT Member Assistance Program to support the mental health and well-being of our members. If you are a UFT member, The Member Assistance Program can be reached at 212-701-9620 or by emailing mapinfo@uft.org. And once again, please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening.